Breaking news. The following content is extremely subjective. The only person who can really decide what putter works best for you is you. But if you want to read my report on what is the best putter guaranteed to go in the basket from at least 100 feet away, well, keep watching. What is up, YouTube fam? Robbie C here, and this week we are going to talk all about one of the age-old questions, and probably the question that all of us ask when our putting game starts to go in a terrible direction. Should I pick a new putter? It seems like there are as many putters as there are grains of sand on a beach, and choosing the right one can be an overwhelming process. I want to help you know what are the things I should be looking for when I'm selecting my putter. I believe there are 3 criteria that you should look at when you are selecting your putting putter. But before we dive into those, if you're not already, go ahead and hit that like button and hit that subscribe button to support the channel. You're going to hear me use the word mold often. And when I say mold, I'm talking about the name of the putter. That could be a Luna, a Warden, a P2. Whatever that mold is, there are certain characteristics that change between every single mold. That is why we have tons of putters, not just one singular putter. The first thing, and probably the most major separator of putters, is bead or beadless. A beaded putter is a putter that has a small extra lip on the bottom side of it. Common putters that have a bead are the Dynamic Discs Judge and the Innova KC Pro AVR. People love the bead because it gives their fingers something to rest on or rest against while holding the putter. The other option is a beadless putter. This is a putter that does not have that extra lip on the bottom of the disc. Common examples of this would include the Discraft Luna or the Dynamic Discs Warden. Some may ask, Robbie, you mentioned 2 dynamic disc putters, and that is the biggest difference between the Warden and the Judge. One has a bead and one does not have a bead. Typically, a bead will make a disc more overstable, but an important thing to keep in mind is that within the circle, all putters are pretty much going to fly the same. There is slight differences, and some are a little more overstable and some are a little understable, but as a beginner, you're really not going to notice too much of a difference, so it's really going to come down to preferences. Once you've decided where you land within the bead or beadless discussion, the next thing we need to talk about is depth. When you look at a putter, there are certain putters that would be considered a deep dish option and others that are a little more shallow or thin. How deep the putter is from the bottom of the rim to the flight plate can massively change how the disc feels in your hand. People with smaller hands may not want as deep of a putter because it feels like it's really hard to get a firm grip on the putter. I do want to take a moment to talk about how I grip a putter, and this is what works for me. My index finger finds itself on the outside rim, kind of curled towards the center of the disc, but not wrapped all the way underneath. My remaining 3 fingers find themselves lightly grasping the middle of the disc, and this creates balance in my hand, and I absolutely love it. One way I would suggest that you find your grip is to lightly toss the disc in the air, not all the way up. We're not trying to juggle, but just lightly spin it in your hand and stop. However your hand rests on the disc is going to be really close to your natural grip on how you should be putting with the disc. Depth is going to change so much about this because if the disc is too deep for you, then it's going to be really hard to get your fingers to rest properly within the disc. The last thing we want to talk about is plastic type. If you thought it was hard to pick a mold, just wait till you try to figure out what plastic you want that mold in. Every single company has multiple plastic options available, and it's really up to you to decide what you want to putt with because you need to pick what's best in your hand. If we look at just the company, Dynamic Discs, there are 11 different types of plastic that all exist within Dynamic Discs. And we're just talking baseline. If we look at the Lucid plastic, there are multiple spin-offs of Lucid in itself. So, most people when using putters try to select a base plastic or something not so premium. The reason we do this is because usually the base plastics or lower end plastics are a little grippier, which is exactly what some people are looking for when you're on the putting green. If you're a premium plastic putter kind of person, I totally respect that. And I actually won my first tournament putting with a Star AVR 3 putter. So if you're a premium plastic putter, great. Keep doing your thing. As a short recap, there are 3 critical pieces to choosing your putting putter. You want to talk about bead or beadless. You want to talk about the depth of the disc. And lastly, what plastic do you want to have that disc in? Selecting your putter is only half the battle. You then have to figure out, how does it actually fly? And I can't talk about using a putter without mentioning today's sponsor, DiscDot. This just in. DiscDot is a brand new putting aid designed to help you build fantastic muscle memory and focus on a single point within the basket. I love using my DiscDot, and after just a few months of using this, it would be impossible to calculate the number of birdies and par saves I've been able to make simply because of practicing with this fantastic tool. Although the tool is amazing, one of my favorite parts about DiscDot is the people. Rick and Natasha are doing amazing things and are some of my favorite people within the entire disc golf community. So if you'd like to support what DiscDot is doing to change the game, then head over to disc.usa.com and use the code RCDiscGolf at checkout for 10% off. Because who doesn't want to save a few strokes and a few bucks? Speaking of saving a few strokes, let's talk about what to do with your putter once you've picked it. You've answered the questions and selected your putter. What do we do now? The first thing I want to distinguish once you've selected your putting putter is exactly that. There is a difference between a putting putter and a throwing putter. Eric McCabe taught me this early on, and that is that we should always have a specific putting putter in our bag and a throwing putter. These should never be the same thing. Most people who really fall in love with their putting putter will get the same putter in a premium plastic, so that way they can use it as a throwing putter and still have that familiarity in the hand. But you may be saying, Robbie, how do I know if I love this putter? I've only been using it for a day or two. That's a great question. And one thing we need to keep in mind is that just because you change putters doesn't mean you're going to start draining putts over and over and over again. We need to take the time and use this putter not only in inside the circle putts where we know that almost all putters are going to fly similar, but we also need to look at how it does in outside of the circle putts. Take your putter, use it on short putts, and then use it on long putts as well. See how it flies for you. I would suggest is buying 2 putters of the same type in the same weight in the same plastic. When you have these 2 putters, use them for 2 months. That's right. I want you to stick with this putter and use it for 2 months to decide, is this really something I could get used to using? I want you to use these putters every single time that you're going out and putting. Even when you're doing your practice, I want you to make sure that you're only using those 2 putters. I know that you may have a stack of AVRs or other putters that you've been using, but we really want to teach ourselves familiarity with the mold we selected. Great putting is all about 2 things, comfort and consistency. We've answered comfort by the first 3 questions to help us select our mold, and consistency will come in learning how to putt with this disc over and over again. I highly suggest only putting with the 2 putters that you've purchased of the mold you selected. I know it's going to take a long time walking back and forth, but even when you miss, if you're only using the same putter, you're going to teach yourself how to start making it and how to start using this putter. After you've used this mold for 2 months, you're then at a decision point. Do you want to keep using this putter, or do you think it's time to try out something else? This is totally up to you, and there really isn't a wrong answer here. If the answer is, hey, I'd like to try something else, go back to the beginning of this video, ask those 3 questions again, and select a new mold and buy 2 of those and use them for 2 months. Eventually, you're going to say, yes, this is the putter that I want to use. I would then encourage you to buy 10 extra copies of that putter. So let me know in the comments below, what putter are you using, what weight is it, and what plastic is it in? And then finally, how many of them do you have? I love helping people learn and get better at this game, and one of the easiest ways I do this is through the Birdie Fam. The Birdie Fam is a community of disc golfers trying to improve one throw at a time. Not only do they get access to ask questions whenever they want, but they also get exclusive content to help them with their game. If you're curious about any details regarding the Birdie Fam, head down to the link in the description below. I hope you guys have an amazing week and that you select the best putter that always goes in the basket. And for me, that's definitely a dynamic disc Warden. I feel like I just had to say it. Team Warden. But for now, I'm going to leave you with the birdie.